My name is Lin Shui. I'm 21 years old, a scholarship student who survives on instant noodles and part-time tutoring. I never belonged in places like this, and tonight proved it. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers, the scent of roses and expensive perfume heavy in the air. My borrowed dress clung awkwardly a size too tight. I stood at the very edge of the crowd, gripping my glass with both hands, praying no one would notice me. But they did. A laugh cut through the music. Look at her dress. Did she buy it from a thrift store? Another voice joined in, sharper, mocking. No, I think she borrowed it. Just like she borrows everything else. My cheeks burned. I lowered my head, staring into the golden bubbles rising in my champagne. The whisper spread like wildfire. Who invited her? She's just a poor student. She doesn't belong here. And then she appeared. The so-called elegant lady everyone admired. Glossy hair, diamonds dripping from her neck, lips curved into a cruel smile. She circled me like a predator circling prey. Poor little charity case, she said loudly enough for the hall to hear. Even if you wear silk, you'll never be one of us. Laughter erupted. Heat rushed to my face. My fingers trembled around the fragile stem of the glass. It slipped. Champagne spilled across my skirt, icy liquid soaking into borrowed fabric. The crowd roared with amusement. I froze. My throat tightened. My heart pounded so loud it drowned the music. For a moment I wished the ground would open and swallow me whole. And then he appeared. Tall. Broad shoulders. Eyes sharper than a blade. Li Chen. The CEO everyone admired and feared. His gaze landed on me with the chill of winter. I felt stripped bare, my shame magnified under his stare. He moved forward, slow, deliberate, each step echoing in my chest. He stopped before me, towering, expression unreadable. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he dropped a thick stack of papers onto the polished table. The sound cracked through the room like thunder. Everyone hushed. I blinked at the documents. My name stared back at me, bold black letters printed across the first page. Confusion tangled with panic. Why was my name there? I had never seen those papers before. Whispers broke the silence. What is she doing here? Her name is on his contract? Impossible. She's just a student. The fake elegant woman smirked. How amusing. Did the CEO make a mistake? Or is this some kind of entertainment? My chest ached. My palms were slick. I wanted to speak, to explain, but no words came. Li Chen's eyes narrowed, dark and cold. He leaned closer, his voice low, sharp, but meant for everyone to hear. Since you dare to step into my world, prove you belong. The hall erupted again, voices like knives, each one cutting into me. Prove it. How? She'll fail instantly. She's nothing but a beggar in silk. I wanted to run, to disappear, but my feet refused to move. The papers lay before me, heavy, threatening. My name glaring like a trap. Why me? Why was I here? My fingers brushed the edge of the contract. My heart thudded against my ribs, loud, frantic. And just as I drew in a shaky breath, just as the humiliation threatened to crush me, Li Chen's eyes flashed with something unexpected. His jaw tightened. It was as if he had just noticed something no one else saw. His cold mask didn't break, but the silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. And I knew this was only the beginning. The ballroom air felt colder than ice. Every pair of eyes was on me. My name printed across that contract had turned me from invisible to spectacle. Li Chen's gaze pinned me in place. Sharp. Merciless. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone silenced the room. Finally he spoke. Show them. Show me. If you dare to stand here, prove you deserve it. The words cut deeper than any laughter. My chest tightened. My throat burned. Prove myself? In this place? Surrounded by wolves waiting to watch me bleed? The elegant woman's laughter rang out again, sweet and venomous. Oh, Seoli, what proof could she possibly offer? She's a student. She knows nothing of our world. Whispers spread like wildfire. She'll humiliate herself. This is entertainment better than the auction. She should just admit defeat and leave. I swallowed hard, fingers curling into fists. My instinct screamed at me to run, to escape this trap. But my feet were glued to the floor. I forced myself to lift my chin, though my pulse was erratic, hammering in my ears. Li Chun leaned back slightly, hands in his pockets, calm yet cruel. His eyes flickered with disdain. Or perhaps, he said, his tone dripping with mockery, you're just another fake elegant woman hiding behind borrowed silk and hollow pride. The crowd gasped. His words hit me like a whip. Fake elegant woman. The label clung to me, suffocating. The socialite smirked, delighted. Yes, that's exactly what she is. My lips parted, but no sound came. If I defended myself, they'd laugh. If I stayed silent, they'd sneer. Either way, I was cornered. The guests pressed closer, eyes gleaming, like spectators waiting for a beast to be torn apart. Let her prove it. Yes, if she belongs here, let's see. My hands shook at my sides. My dress clung damp against my skin from the earlier spill, making me feel smaller, weaker. Li Chen's voice was calm, commanding. Recite the poem engraved on the wall behind me. He gestured toward an ancient calligraphy piece displayed with reverence, the kind of cultural treasure scholars studied for years. The room burst into delighted chatter. She won't know it. Even I barely understand that one. This will be her end. I stared at the ink strokes. My vision blurred. My mind went blank. The elegant woman stepped closer, voice dripping poison. Poor thing. Can't even read the classics? Did they not teach that in your little village school? Her words struck like arrows. My knees nearly buckled. I wanted to shout. I wanted to scream that I did know, that I had studied under a flickering lamp, whispering verses into the night while hunger gnawed at my stomach. But under their mocking gazes, my courage withered. The hall vibrated with laughter. Cold. Unforgiving. My breathing grew shallow. My fingers clenched so tightly my nails bit into my palms. I could almost hear my mother's voice, faint in my mind. Hold steady, Shui. Never bow to cruelty. I steadied my breath. But before I could open my mouth, a movement caught my eye. Li Chen's assistant leaned close to him, whispering something I couldn't hear. The CEO's expression shifted. Barely, but I noticed. His eyes narrowed, the mocking arrogance flickering for just a moment into something sharper. His gaze locked on me again, more piercing than before, as if he suddenly realized I was not the weak little mouse they thought I was. The crowd didn't notice. They kept jeering, kept laughing. But Li Chen's jaw tightened. His cold mask trembled at the edges. Why? What did his assistant tell him? And why was he looking at me like that? As if he had discovered a secret. My heart pounded. My breath caught. And in that moment I understood this humiliation was far from over. It was only the beginning of something far more dangerous. The jeers still echoed in my ears. Laughter. Mockery. Their eyes devouring me like vultures. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was how far I had already walked through storms just to stand here tonight. The calligraphy blurred before my eyes, and suddenly I wasn't in the ballroom anymore. I was back in that tiny leaky dorm room. Rain dripped through cracks in the roof, soaking my textbooks. I sat at my desk with a candle stub, scribbling notes as water pooled at my feet. My stomach growled, empty for the second night in a row. But I forced myself to keep going. Knowledge was the only rope pulling me out of darkness. My hands remembered the sting of hot water. Hours spent washing dishes in greasy restaurants until my skin cracked. Nights scrubbing floors at a hotel until my back ached. Days tutoring spoiled children who mocked my accent, but I smiled anyway because their parents' money paid my tuition. And then my brother's cries. The image burned into me. His tiny frame curled under a threadbare blanket. Fever burning through his fragile body. I rushed to his side, pressing a damp cloth to his forehead, whispering lullabies with a voice hoarse from exhaustion. No doctor. No money. Just me fighting the night, praying he'd survive until morning. I had sworn to protect him. After our father abandoned us, after creditors took everything, I promised my mother I would carry the family. Even when she collapsed behind her market stall from overwork, even when I buried her with my own trembling hands, I swore I would never give up. But promises cost. And I paid with dignity. I remembered the scholarship, the one chance I had to climb higher. I worked, I studied, I bled for it. And then gone. Stolen. By her. The elegant woman who now smirked at me across the ballroom. Her family used their influence to strip me of my rightful award and hand it to her. She had smiled then too. A smile of victory. A smile that crushed my future beneath her heel. That day I wanted to break. But I didn't. I bit my tongue until it bled. I held my brother's hand tighter. And I whispered to myself, survive. Endure. One day they will know who you really are. The memory faded. The chandeliers of the ballroom came back into view. The perfume. The whispers. The icy stares. I blinked, my lashes wet. Not from weakness, but from remembering every scar carved into me. The laughter no longer deafened me. The mockery no longer crushed me. Because compared to the nights of hunger, the endless betrayals, the cruel theft of my future, this was nothing. I straightened. My fingers uncurled. My breath steadied. Let them laugh. Let them call me fake. They didn't know the truth. And if they pushed me hard enough, if they forced me to the edge, they would see that the poor girl they mocked was not as fragile as she seemed. My eyes lifted. I met Li Chen's gaze across the table. For the first time I didn't flinch. A spark flickered in his expression. Surprise. Curiosity. Something he hadn't expected to find. I pressed my palm against the contract. Cold paper beneath trembling fingers. My voice was silent, but my heart roared. They think I am nothing. But one day they will see everything I am. And none of them, not him, not her, not the world, would be ready for who I truly was. The whispers hadn't stopped. They circled me like chains, dragging me down. But Li Chen didn't give me time to breathe. He stepped closer, his presence towering, suffocating. His voice cut through the laughter, calm but merciless. If you want to stay here, sign it. The contract. Those pages that had carried my name like a curse. I stared down at the black letters, heart hammering. My throat tightened as if invisible hands were strangling me. What is it? Someone whispered eagerly. She's hesitating. Of course she is. That contract isn't an opportunity. It's a leash. The elegant woman's laughter was honey laced with poison. She leaned against Li Chen's arm as though she owned him. Li is generous, isn't he? Giving her a chance to serve at his side. How else would a beggar like her survive in this world? The crowd erupted again. Cruel amusement. Faces blurred together in my vision, all sneering, all waiting for me to shatter. Assistant. That's what the contract said. But not a position of respect, an errand runner. A servant in disguise. My stomach twisted. If I signed, I would brand myself as the joke they wanted me to be. But if I refused, I thought of my brother. His small hands clutching mine. His eyes wide with fear when he coughed blood. The hospital bills stacked higher than the sky. Refusing meant no money, no treatment, no chance. Tears burned at the back of my eyes, but I forced them back. They would never see me cry. Li Chen watched, expression unreadable, his lips curved faintly. Not kindness, but something colder. A man playing with prey, testing its endurance. The elegant woman whispered loudly enough for all to hear. She'll sign. Of course she will. Poor girls always sell themselves cheap. Her words stabbed deep. But she was right. I lifted the pen. My hand trembled. The hall held its breath, hungry for my surrender. The pen touched paper. I signed my name. Gasps filled the room. Then laughter. Loud. Relentless. She really did it. Pathetic. She'll be fetching coffee before the week ends. I placed the pen down slowly, forcing my fingers to release it. My pulse roared in my ears. My dignity lay shredded on the marble floor. But beneath the humiliation, something strange stirred. Calm. Steady. Almost defiant. Because though they believed I had fallen into their trap, though they believed I was broken, I knew the truth. I wasn't surrendering. I was accepting a challenge. Let them laugh. Let them mock. They thought they had caged me, but this signature was not an end. It was the beginning of a war they weren't prepared for. The elegant woman preened, victorious, eyes sparkling with cruel delight. Li Chen smirked faintly, convinced he had proven his point. But inside I whispered to myself, one day he will regret putting that pen in my hand. One day she will choke on her laughter. And when that day comes, they will both know. I touched my stomach unconsciously. A chill running through me. A thought too fragile to name formed in my heart. He doesn't know. None of them know. Whose child I will carry. The chandeliers glittered above me, mocking. The crowd laughed until their throats ached. But deep inside something had shifted. I was no longer afraid. Weeks blurred into shadows. Whispers followed me everywhere. The girl who sold her pride. The girl who clung to the CEO like a parasite. Every step I took inside the company was a performance for their ridicule. Coffee spilled accidentally on my desk. Snide remarks as I passed in the hallway. Their laughter was sharper than knives. But I endured. For my brother. For survival. For something nameless burning quietly inside me. Until the day my world tilted. It began with dizziness. A faint sickness that grew heavier each morning. My hands shook when I touched my stomach, too afraid to believe what I already suspected. I told no one. Not yet. But fate never allowed secrets to stay hidden. That afternoon, in the office lobby crowded with staff and clients, my vision swam. My knees buckled. And then darkness. When I woke, white walls surrounded me. The sterile smell of medicine filled my lungs. The murmurs outside my hospital room were loud enough to slice through the door. She fainted? What now? Serves her right. Always pretending. Wait. Didn't the doctor say? The door swung open. And with it, the words that shattered the silence. She's pregnant. Gasps. Shock. The crowd outside erupted, voices dripping with judgment. Pregnant? With whose child? Don't tell me the CEO? She trapped him. Just like every poor woman dreams of doing. My chest tightened. My fingers curled against the thin blanket. Shame burned, but deeper still, fear. Then he arrived. Li Chen. His footsteps were heavy, echoing down the hallway. When he entered, the room fell silent. His eyes, dark, stormy, locked on me. You planned this, he said coldly. Not a question. An accusation. I flinched. My lips parted, but no sound emerged. To trap me. To chain me with a child. His voice cut like glass. That's what you wanted all along, isn't it? My heart cracked. He thought I schemed. He thought I was no different from the woman who mocked me. The elegant woman pushed through the door, feigning shock but unable to hide her glee. Sioli, I warned you. These women will do anything for status. Her words poisoned the air. The staff nodded, their eyes condemning. I wanted to scream the truth. That I had never planned this. That the nights of sickness terrified me. That the child growing inside me was not a trap but a miracle. But before I could speak, the doctor entered. Papers in hand. His voice calm, steady. We've run the necessary tests. The results are conclusive. He handed the file to Li Chen. The CEO's eyes flickered as he read. His jaw tightened. The crowd leaned closer, hungry. And then the truth struck. The DNA confirmed what no lie could deny. This child was his. The elegant woman paled, her mask cracking. That's impossible, the doctor interrupted firmly. There is no mistake. Whispers turned into gasps. Gasps turned into stunned silence. The hall that once mocked me now stared with wide eyes, their judgment collapsing into shock. I lifted my head slowly. For the first time I didn't hide. I didn't tremble. My voice was quiet, but it carried like thunder. I don't need your approval. I don't need your name. This child is my strength. The silence deepened. My words cut through like fire, stripping their cruelty bare. The elegant woman stumbled back, her face drained. The crowd that once worshipped her now turned. Whispers shifted, sharp and accusing. She lied. She stole scholarships. She's not who she claimed to be. Documents surfaced. Proof of her family's deceit. Her stolen awards, her false elegance. The mask she wore shattered under the weight of truth. And for the first time the proud socialite trembled. Li Chen's expression shifted, his arrogance cracking. He looked at me. Not with disdain but with something raw. His lips pressed tightly, as though he couldn't form the words. The man who once mocked me lowered his head. The hall was silent, every eye on me. No longer with ridicule, but with something far heavier. Respect. The room was frozen in silence. Moments ago they mocked me. Now their stares burned with something different. Awe, regret, shame. The elegant woman trembled, her diamonds no longer glittering but choking her throat. The whispers about her lies spread like fire. Her so-called elegance collapsed into ashes before everyone's eyes. And Li Chan, the man who once looked at me with disdain, stood silent. His posture stiff, his eyes stormy, his lips pressed into a line. For the first time he was the one cornered. But I didn't wait for his apology. I didn't need it. I rose from the hospital bed slowly, each movement steady, deliberate. My hand instinctively touched my stomach. My child. My strength. The crowd parted as I stepped forward. No one dared to laugh now. No one dared to whisper. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence. You all thought I was nothing. A poor girl in borrowed silk. A fake. But tonight you learned the truth. I don't need your approval. I never did. Gasps. Shamed faces turning away. The weight of their silence was heavier than their cruelty had ever been. I looked at the elegant woman one last time. Her face was pale, her hands shaking as though the floor beneath her had vanished. Once I feared her. Once she crushed me. Now she was nothing to me. I turned my gaze to Li Chan. His jaw was tight, his eyes unreadable. But there was something different in them now. Not arrogance. Not disdain. Something raw. Something almost human. He opened his mouth, but I raised my hand gently. No. I don't need words. Not tonight. And I walked past him. Each step felt lighter. Each step was mine. The chandeliers above no longer mocked me. They glittered like stars guiding my path. The marble floor no longer echoed my shame. It carried me forward with strength. By the time I reached the door, my heart no longer trembled. I was no longer the girl they laughed at. I was no longer the poor student they mocked. I was a woman. A mother. A survivor. And for the first time I believed it. I paused at the doorway, placing both hands gently over my stomach. A smile touched my lips. Not of victory, not of revenge, but of quiet strength. My child. I whispered in my heart. We will never bow again. We will never let them break us. The crowd watched in silence as I left. No jeers. No laughter. Only respect. And I knew then, this was not the end of my story. This was only the beginning. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever been mocked, humiliated, told you were nothing, remember this. Your worth doesn't come from their approval. It comes from your courage to rise. If you believe dignity is worth more than diamonds, subscribe and join me, because stories like mine deserve to be heard.